Chapter 16. Hank Takes Action. Maxine sat in her hospital room, unable to sleep or even rest. She didn't want to stay in the hospital, but the surgeon said she should stay at least one night. She kept thinking about Nanette. Hank walked into her room and sat down in the chair. He looked very tired. Grabowski has arrested Aaron. I just spent 3 hours at the jail getting a lawyer for Aaron to get him out. I know Aaron didn't kill Nanette, he said. Grabowski has made a big mistake, Maxine exclaimed. Grabowski says that the police saw Aaron's car a few blocks from Virginia's house at the same time that someone attacked you and Virginia in Virginia's garage. The truth was that Aaron was parked in front of your house. He was waiting for you. He wanted to talk to you about Nanette. He wanted to tell you that he was sorry that he lied to you about following Nanette to North Avenue. He wanted to tell you that Nanette let him drive her home because he persuaded her that North Avenue at night was dangerous. But I hadn't been home for days. I was staying at Grabowski's, Maxine said. Aaron didn't know that, said Hank. He'd been working hard in the lab and hadn't talked to anyone at Mercy Hospital. He waited outside your house for an hour. Then, he drove to my office to talk to me. We had a sandwich in the park. But Grabowski says he still had time to walk to Virginia's house and hit you and Virginia over the head. Aaron was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, said Maxine. Tell Grabowski, said Hank, then changed his mind. No, don't. He'll arrest me too. Every time he looks at me, I feel he's going to send me to jail. He won't, Hank. Anyway, I know someone who saw Nanette after Aaron the night Nanette died. Who? Asked Hank. Charlie. Hank looked surprised. Charlie? The PhD student who worked with you and Virginia at Marquette? Nanette hardly knew him. Nanette only invited Charlie to our last pool party because he was a friend of Virginia's. That's what Nanette told me. That wasn't true. Nanette knew Charlie very well, said Maxine. Nanette went to his lab a few times to talk to him. She called him after Aaron took her home the night she died. Charlie was still at the lab. He went to your house to pick her up. So Charlie was the last person to see Nanette before she was poisoned? Hank frowned. Yes, replied Maxine. Nanette had left her car parked on North Avenue. I think she let Aaron take her home because he wouldn't go away unless she got into his car. But she wanted her car. So Nanette phoned Charlie at the lab and asked him to take her back to North Avenue. Why not call a taxi? Hank asked. Maxine thought carefully. There must have been a good reason. Maybe she needed to talk to Charlie about something. Hank looked confused. Why did she want to go back to North Avenue? I don't know, Maxine said. But I have a strong feeling that Nanette wanted to do something that night on North Avenue. So Charlie drove to my house, picked up my wife, and drove her to North Avenue. Yes, nodded Maxine. Then Charlie brought the poison with him from the lab, said Hank. Charlie must have saved some poison from your experiments. He killed Nanette. Then you came to his lab and started asking questions. He got nervous, so he tried to kill you 3 times. Then Virginia got suspicious about what he was doing, so he tried to kill Virginia too. No, wait, Hank. I didn't say that Charlie killed Nanette. I just said that Charlie saw her after Aaron. Hank wasn't listening. He opened the door. I'm going to find Charlie. Wait! But the door closed. Maxine felt panic. Hank might do something dangerous when he found Charlie. Charlie was a quiet person. He only cared about his work. He didn't have many friends. He liked Nanette because she talked to him and made him feel important. Why would Charlie poison Nanette? And would Charlie try to kill Maxine? Charlie and Maxine had been friends for years. On the other hand, Charlie didn't like Virginia. Virginia had stopped Charlie from getting his PhD for years. If Virginia were gone, Charlie could get his PhD, get his own research money, and get Virginia's lab. Had Charlie changed Virginia's research reports to make her look bad? Had Virginia found out? That would be a reason for Charlie to attack Virginia, but Maxine tried to imagine Charlie hiding in Virginia's garage and hitting Virginia and Maxine on the head. It didn't seem possible. And how was that connected to Nanette? Maxine thought and thought. She thought about the other people connected to this case: Hank, Aaron, Lavelle. Lavelle! She had told Maxine to go to 24th and North Avenue, and Maxine had done that. But she hadn't yet spoken to the woman she had met there. The woman had said she had a phone number that was connected to the room above the grocery. Maxine grabbed her purse and pulled out everything. She was looking for the paper where she had written the woman's phone number. She pulled out the photos she had shown to Lavelle and the phone number. She called the number. The woman answered. "Yes, I have the number." "Wait a second, I'll get it," she said to Maxine. While she waited, Maxine looked at the photos. In one, Nanette had her arms around Aaron. Charlie was watching. Virginia and Hank were standing behind them, talking. Was this the photo of all the people that Lavelle had been talking about? "Here's the number," said the woman on the phone. Maxine wrote it down. She couldn't believe it. It was the phone number of Charlie's lab. Why did this woman have Charlie's lab phone number? How was this connected to Nanette? Then the phone rang. "Grabowski?" Maxine shouted into the phone. "Corina," a quiet voice answered. "I called to find out how you are." Suddenly, Maxine knew the answer. She remembered the white spots on Lavelle's arm when she came to the ER. She suddenly knew why Nanette was killed, and she knew how. One question to Dr. Corina Singh made her certain. "Have you seen any cases of leprosy lately?" she asked. "Yes," Corina replied. "Have you seen it in the ER too?" Maxine hung up quickly. She phoned Charlie at the Marquette lab. There was no answer, but maybe Charlie was busy and couldn't answer the phone. The phone rang. It was Grabowski. "Hank's going to Marquette," Maxine shouted. "He thinks Charlie killed Nanette. I'm going there now," she said. "Stay right where you are," Grabowski shouted, but Maxine hung up the phone. Then she got out of bed and put on her clothes, hurried out of the hospital, and got into a taxi. The taxi dropped her on the street near the Marquette Biochemistry Building. A white Mercedes was parked in front of the biochemistry building. Hank's car. The building was dark. Voices were coming from Charlie's lab. She opened the door quietly. Hank was inside. His back was to the door. Charlie and Virginia were facing Hank. They were looking at something that Hank had in his hand. "I didn't kill Nanette," Charlie said. His voice shook. "The last time I saw Nanette was Sunday, the night she died. She phoned me here at the lab about 11:30 p.m. She was at her house. She said her car was parked on North Avenue. She wanted her car. She asked me to drive her there." "Why did she call you?" Hank asked. "Why didn't she call a taxi?" "When she phoned, she wanted to talk to Virginia, but I told her that Virginia had gone home, so she asked me to come." Then, in the car, she kept asking more questions about Virginia's research. "Stop talking about Virginia," Hank shouted. "You came to our house and you killed her." "No!" Charlie shouted. "I drove Nanette to the corner of 24th Street and North Avenue and left her by her car. That was the last time I ever saw her. That was just before midnight. I didn't know until yesterday that she died right after I left her." "You're lying," Hank said. Hank raised his hand. He was holding a gun. Charlie looked at Virginia. "Virginia, help me!" Virginia said nothing. Maxine pushed the door open. "No!" she shouted. As she entered, Charlie pushed Hank, hard. Hank fell down. He hit his head on the table and lay on the floor without moving. The gun also lay on the floor. Charlie reached for the gun, but Virginia picked it up. She pointed it at Charlie.